Hey everybody, Keith Saarloos coming to you from our back room at Saarloos & Sons, the Holy of Holies, to tell you about our winter allocation. This allocation is not only near and dear to my heart, but it's the beginning of an entire year of amazing wines that we have coming out for you. Let's jump right into it. Our first wine, it's called our Extended Family, and our Extended Family has always been our Pinot Noir. Usually it came from Santa Maria Valley. This year we switched it, and we're now coming from the Santa Rita Hills, which is about 10 miles down the road on Highway 246. This is the only wine that we are releasing this year that we do not own the property that it grows on. It grows in the middle of nowhere. You got to take 3 dirt roads and go up on top of a hill. And I think one of the best vineyards in all of Santa Rita Hills to grow Pinot Noir. And we can't grow it on our property because our property in an honest way is just too warm. Pinot Noir is a really thin-skinned grape, absolutely beautiful, tiny little clusters. It's kind of that kid that comes and stays at your house that has a whole list of foods it can't eat and can't go in the sun for too long, but when they stay with you, they turn into someone else. And that's what we have with our Extended Family. We treat it just like everybody else, but this wine is special. On the label this year, we have a picture of my great-grandpa Weeker's ring and Effie sitting in front of their son's dairy, feet up, relaxed, happy with life. And our Extended Family is just like you. You've chosen to follow, be a part of what we're doing, and we think of them or this grape just like a piece of our family from a different mom. I absolutely love this wine. It's easy drinking. It's definitely the most beveragey of all the wines that we make, and I'm absolutely in love with it. That is our Extended Family. The second wine we have is called the OG, and OG is kind of a funny name for a wine. On the label, you have my grandfather sitting on the hood of his car, as tough and rad as any I've ever seen. We used to call this wine, the secret name, if you will, for this wine was the Car Bomb. And we called it the Car Bomb because it is a Grenache Noir that we carbonically fermented. So carbonic fermentation is the biggest risk you can possibly take. I love this wine because we are taking a massive, massive risk with it. So in 2014, we took Grenache from our Windmill Ranch and Vineyard, which is just right over the hill from us, the one with the terraces that come down. And we picked it, we put it into a tank, we couldn't test it, we couldn't touch it, we couldn't taste it. And we let it ferment inside of that tank that we pressurized with CO2. So every single one of these grapes actually fermented inside of its own skin. It's so old school, it's the OG in winemaking. When we take all of these wines, we can't test it, we can't taste it, we can't even look at it. We have to have faith that what's happening inside of that tank is what we think is happening. It's very expensive and it's a huge risk, but it turned out absolutely magnificently. It's a 2014 that we didn't bottle until 2017, and we've been drinking it secretly on the slide in our home the whole time. It's beautiful, light, almost a Pinot Noir with a little bit more oomph to it. Every time I go to a party, I bring this. And I bring this because I know it's going to be the first bottle gone of any of them. Because no matter who you are, you taste this and you go, hey, I like that. What is it? And taking that risk is something that we want to do as not only a company, but as a family constantly. We have this Grenache because we actually lost 20% of our vineyard a few years ago, and we had to graft it over to a brand new varietal that we had never grown. And this is previous to the tasting room. This is previous to us making wine. This is a bit of a failure that happened in the vineyard with a freeze that went through, but we took that opportunity to plant or to grow another varietal. And I look at this grape, and this is a big reason that we are now making wine, because we could grow Syrah. Now we knew we could grow Grenache, and we could grow multiple varietals. And by doing so, we had gunpowder in the tank, if you will. So this is OG. The next wines, we have 3. And I'm going to try to get through this without breaking up. But we have Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Blood, Sweat, and Tears is not only their names, but it's what happened in 2015. In 2015, the wind blew on the wrong day and rain fell on the wrong day. And in the process of flowering, the grapes or the flowers didn't get to self-pollinate. So grapes don't need bees to pollinate. When they open, they self-pollinate themselves. They have everything in there to create a flower and a fruit. Well, everything went wrong, and we lost 75% of our harvest or our grape production in one night. The hard part about that is when you lose 75% of your business or whatever, you don't have to do it usually. But with farming, you still have to farm every single one of those vines, every single row, every hillside, everything, as if you were going to have 100% of your harvest. But it just wasn't there. The benefit to that, or the good thing that happened, was the fruit that was there was amazing. And I mean amazing. It was like holding these little grape clusters that made it. They were tough, they were beautiful, they were full of color, full of life, and full of flavor. We released our Syrah in 3 different bottles, even though genetically they're identical. They come from the same vineyard, they're the same clone, everything's the same, farming's the same, but they each taste differently. So this comes from the High Hill, which is the blood. This comes from our Fat Man Terrace, the one coming down the hill, and this comes from our Little Boy Terrace. I chose the people to go onto these bottles because without them, there would be no Saarloos and Sons. And I thought it was a great way to honor them back. So on blood, you see a picture of my father, the man who bought a piece of property that had an apple orchard on it. The apples were a failure. We had to tear everything out, replant, and we planted in grapes because we knew we could sell them. Without Dad's vision, without his tenacity, without him saying, I give up, I'm not going to do this anymore, there would never be a Saarloos and Sons. Dad is our farmer. One of the things I want to say about my father or our family is we were recently told, we found this out in a little meeting, that we are one of 2 families in 200 miles that planted every single one of their vines on their own property, still continues to farm them each and every day themselves. Not another farming company coming in to do it for us. We pick every single grape ourselves. We make every single wine ourselves. And the only place in the world you can buy that effort is in this place. I think that's a tremendous medal of honor for not only my father, but our family as a whole. And I wanted to take a moment to honor my dad and our family for doing the hard work that it takes to do what we do. And I want to thank you for believing in us and giving us an opportunity to get up and go to work each day. The second bottle we have is called Sweat. And on the label, you'll see a picture of my great-grandpa Weekers. He's the same person that's on the extended family with his feet up and relaxing, but this is a totally different time. He packed his family up in a car. My grandma's the little girl sitting in the middle of their family, and drove out during the Dust Bowl from Iowa to California. When I look at that picture and I look at him with the hat tilted, I see the resolve that's in his eyes, because he was in a place where he had to pack everything he had and take a risk, just like Dad did with pulling out all those apples and replanting, and drive all the way across the country to basically give a better life for his children. We've all been in places where we've had challenges to overcome, and I look into his eyes and I see that resolve. And without him making that decision to get in that car that day and drive from Iowa to California, there would never have been my grandpa meeting my grandma. There would never have been my dad. There never would have been me or my children. That guy is responsible for getting in that car and starting what you see before you. Our final wine is called Tears. And Tears has my son on it, my boy. When I look at my great-grandpa and I look at my dad, my great-grandpa was getting us to California 75 years ago, celebrating 75 years of farming. I look at my dad and what he's done in our lives to have vision and to move forward. And then I look at my son, honoring and preparing. I'm honoring those that have come before us, and I'm in preparation of those yet to come. My son is the reason this business is here. My daughter, when my wife came out of the bathroom and said we're pregnant, we had a deal. And the deal was we were going to move to this valley to raise our children. And I green acred my wife, and we got in the car and we drove from Southern California to here to create a new life. There was none of this. There was barely grapes, and there was no vision of what you see in front of you today. In that era between my daughter and my son, when my wife said we were pregnant with our second, we had to do something. And we had a couple businesses that weren't doing great, and I looked at my son and I saw him in the crib, and with tears in my eyes I said, your dad's not going to be a failure. And everything you see in front of you is a result of getting up and going to work every single day and working hard next to my dad and with my family and building something that we could all be proud of, that would honor those that have come before us and prepare the way for those yet to come. And one day, I'll tell them the whole story. But when we lost those grapes and we put them into the barrels and we worked hard each and every year and overcoming obstacles that were thrown in our way, these are some of the best Syrahs we have ever made. And I thought it was an honest and truthful way to honor those in our family that have got us to this point. I got through it. A few other things. We have Saarloos & Sons hoodies. They're available on the website. Go up, pick them up. They are warm. I wear them every day. I just wanted to let you know because people give me a hard time that I don't tell them we have things like that. Number 2, we have formed a podcast. And not just a podcast, but if you go through our website and look at all of these wines, I recorded an audio presentation kind of like this for every single one of them. Why we named them, what they are, where they're from, and what they mean to us. So if you're driving in your car, you can listen to them. If you just want to press play when you pop the bottle, you also can do that. I thought it was important to have a living history of everything that we do. So, extended family, the OG, Blood, Sweat, and Tears. You can also buy Blood, Sweat, and Tears as a collection. We do have that available. There are only 250 cases of this. There are less than 120 cases of this, and there are way less than 25 cases of this. And that is it. This year is going to be exciting. We have a bunch of wines that are already sold out, that are waiting to be allocated to you. We're doing our best each and every day, and we hope that you love everything as much as we can. So for Keith Saarloos and the entire Saarloos & Sons family, live to honor those that have come before you, prepare the way for those yet to come.